I suggest you study this.
The views and opinions expressed on The Rosco Show are not necessarily those of Rosco. Assumptions made within this program are not reflective of the position of Rosco. Please do your own research when it comes to any and all information given on this program. Google is your friend.
March 31st at 2 a.m., my beautiful daughter, Alika Una Sophia St. Pierre, was born into the world. Her mother and I instantly fell in love with her. There's no words to describe the feelings that you have when you're looking down at your little newborn baby and she's staring back up at you with those big blue beautiful eyes. We love you, Alika.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to The Rosco Show. I am Rosco, and I'll be honest, I really don't know what to say when it comes to these little intro segments. I do know that it's going to be a great show, so I will gladly say that it's going to be a great show, because it is. We have Jason Comeau on the program. He is the former producer on Dogma Debate Radio. He is also the current satirical character, that's what I'm going to go with, a satirical character, on YouTube. He's known as Pastor J, and the YouTube channel is Know The Truth. If you're looking for that, Know The Truth is spelled KONWTHETRUT. And I believe there's 5 or 6 exclamation marks at the end of truth there. So if you're going to search that on YouTube, that's what you're going to want to search for. We're also going to have the Know the Truth with Pastor J segment still on the show. Just because we're interviewing him doesn't mean we're not going to have his segments, along with Spidey Steph's segment and Roscoe's Bible readings, of course. And I don't know if these Bible readings are popular, but I really enjoy doing them, so if you don't like them, well, too bad. So anyways, let's get into that right now. Some of Roscoe's Bible readings right here on The Rosco Show. Check it out. This is Adam's lineage. Adam. When Eve gave birth to Seth, Adam was 130 years old. Just as man was made in God's image, Seth was made in Adam's image. Adam also fathered other children. He was 930 years old when he died. Seth. Seth became the father of Enosh when he was 105 years old. Seth also fathered other children. He was 912 years old when he died. Enosh. Enosh became the father of Kenan when he was 90 years old. Enosh also fathered other children. He was 905 years old when he died. Kenan. Kenan became the father of Mahalalel when he was 70 years old. Kenan also fathered other children. He was 910 years old when he died. Mahalalel. Mahalalel became the father of Jared when he was 65 years old. Mahalalel also fathered other children. He was 895 years old when he died. Jared. Jared became the father of Enoch when he was 162 years old. Jared also fathered other children. He was 962 years old when he died. Enoch. Enoch became the father of Methuselah when he was 65 years old. Enoch also fathered other children. Enoch could speak to God, and God took him away. He was 365 years old when he died. Methuselah. Methuselah became the father of Lamech when he was 187 years old. Methuselah also fathered other children. He was 969 years old when he died. Lamech. Lamech became the father of Noah when he was 182 years old. Lamech also fathered other children. He was 777 years old when he died. Noah. Noah became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth when he was 500 years old.
Hey, this is Blake. I'm a Christian apologist, and you are listening to The Rosco Show.
Welcome back to The Rosco Show. I apologize for that Bible reading. I realize it was quite boring. There's really no story involved with that. But it is the lineage from Adam to Noah, and it is somewhat important.
especially that part in there where we mentioned that Enoch walked with God and God took him away. Whoever it was that wrote that part of the Bible must have found that character or that person very important to say that he walked with God. That wasn't really mentioned about any of the other characters in the lineage from Adam to Noah, so something to ponder there. Also, something interesting is that Cain had a son named Enoch when he moved to the land of Nod, where he got his mystery wife. We don't really know where his wife came from, unless it was his sister. We really don't know. Did God create more people? That's one of those questions that, you know, there's a million and one answers to. People have different explanations for that. I've even heard some people say that he had sex with a gorilla. I don't know if anybody's heard that before, but yeah, something to ponder. Coming up next, we have Pastor Jay's segment. Pastor Jay is who we're interviewing today on the show. It's actually Jason Comeau. Pastor Jay is just the character that he portrays on his YouTube channel. He was saying it would be a little bit hard for him to come on and pretend to be the Pastor Jay character, so none of this is satire. Everything that you're hearing is Jason Comeau and his real opinions. That's later on in the interview. But as for right now, this is not Jason Comeau. This is Pastor Jay, the satirical character that I was telling you about earlier. So take it away, Jay.
Hey folks, Pastor Jay here from Know the Truth. I was talking to an atheist the other night on a Google Hangouts, and he spouted off a bunch of nonsense to me. Nonsense that made sense to me as an atheist, but no longer makes sense to me as a Christian. Now, as he was talking, my mind drifted a little bit, and I came to the conclusion that without knowing anything about him, I knew everything about him. About his religion of atheism, about the gods that he worships, and about his character in general. So after talking to him for about 20 minutes, I ended up booting him from the Hangout. And no, I don't have evidence of this video because I took it off my computer because God would not approve of an atheist being on my computer. So to those of you who are watching this video who want to debate an atheist, before you do so, let me give you some guidelines and some insight as to how they think. You see, atheists are simply people that are spiritually adrift. For whatever reason, these individuals have blocked intuitive guidance from God. In doing so, they have cut themselves off from feeling the infinite love of Jesus, which leads to struggle, anger, sadness, drug use, and incest. As a result, the atheist life is very challenging. You probably find it difficult to interact with atheists. These individuals can be some of the most frustrating people to deal with because they radiate lower vibrational energy, and the way they interact with children of Jesus can be quite off-putting. However, if we want to help these people, we must react with condescension and sympathy rather than anger and hostility. Atheists need unconditional love more than the rest of us because they are starved for it. Although this may be challenging at times, love and acceptance are the only things that we can give to others who have lost their way, if they're willing to pick up what we're laying down. So here are a few frustrating symptoms of an atheist, and how best for us to react in order to help them. First one is defensiveness. An atheist is somebody who is operating from their ego and not God. Because they're largely ego-driven, atheists will often feel the need to defend their positions and assert that they're always right and that they always know best. Even friendly advice that will often help an atheist will often be discarded with, "yeah, but," followed by a list of reasons why they believe the advice won't work for them. Your reaction to this defensiveness? Challenge them further. Engage in the argument with the atheist. Your advice is exactly what they need. Remember, atheists are blocking their own inner guidance, so they will very likely need beneficial advice from wherever it's coming from. During a conversation while you're telling them that they're wrong, the best thing you can do is lay your ideas on the table, move goalposts when you're backed into a corner, cherry pick, deny contradictions in the Bible, force your worldviews onto them, tell them that they actually do believe in the Christian God, talk over them when you think they have a good point, get defensive, cry persecution for them questioning your beliefs, randomly bring up Pol Pot and Stalin, and claim that Hitler was an atheist and everything he did was because of evolution. If any atheist pushes against these arguments, back away from the discussion, block them on Google Hangouts, block them on your Facebook page, and do anything that you can to make sure that they have no influence over your other Christian brothers and sisters. Surprisingly, when I've done this in the past, I've noticed that many individuals have later gone on to tell me, "I remember when you did such and such and it was really good advice." The thing about atheists is they do not like to have their egos challenged. So if you debate against their rebuttals with the steps that I listed above, they're either going to listen to you and become Christian, or they're not, because they're threatened by your approach. Because you're right. The next symptom is closed-mindedness. Many times atheists will have a hard time accepting other people with different ideas and choices. Again, Christians are all loving and all accepting. Yes?
What you doing?
I'm making a Pastor J video.
You're an idiot.
Atheists are not. If somebody is blocking out God's unconditional love for themselves, they will be unable to radiate unconditional love to others. As a result, their love will only be given out to certain people that behave in the way that their ego approves of. Because of this, you will often see atheists who manifest themselves into people that are intolerant of other religions, as well as being bigoted, racist, homophobic, and or misogynistic. Your best reaction? If you feel as if something an atheist tells you is intolerant or abusive of others, very kindly tell them that it bothers you when they say things like that, and then just drop it, at least to their face. You can gossip about them later amongst your Christian brothers and sisters. The last one is repeating the same mistakes over and over again. It may take a few tries to learn a lesson in life, but with atheists, the pattern endlessly repeats itself. You may often see an atheist hopping from one abusive relationship to another, chronically being broke and out of work, or even repeatedly being arrested and incarcerated. To be clear, none of us are perfect and we all make mistakes in some way. However, an atheist's repeated mistakes are very painful and can cause them a lifetime of personal grief. Your reaction? Realize again that an atheist has severed ties with the love of the universe and the love of God. Therefore, they do not know how to make choices based on God's love. Now, these individuals are not making their life choices to hurt other people or themselves. They just make poor choices because they're trying to distract themselves from the pain and emptiness they feel from denying and rejecting God, a God that they know exists. Please do not judge them, do not chastise them, and do not belittle their struggles. Accept them for who they are and love them always, but only if you sense that they're starting to accept Jesus. Without that, they have no hope. In closing, it can be very frustrating to deal with an atheist. The defensiveness, closed-mindedness, and continuous self-harm can be very unpleasant to witness and interact with. That being said, we're all on our own paths, and we each have the option of traveling through life the way that we choose. Although we may have found a higher calling, the atheists are choosing to live their life in a limited way, and that's their choice. Now for your Bible verse of the day, John 11:35. Jesus wept.
Jesus wept.
And we're back. And Iris, nice of you to join me. How are you? Awesome. Wow, that's quite interesting. Anything else you want to add? No? Okay. She's a lot of fun, guys. Anyway, so that was Pastor Jay, how to deal with atheists. So if there's any Christians out there, you're having trouble dealing with atheists, Pastor Jay, he has the answers for you, so check that out, yo. I don't know what to say for this segment, guys. I'm just pretty excited about this interview that we did with Jason Comeau. So I think we're just going to jump into a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to get into the first half of that interview that we have with him. Just a few things that we touch on in the interview that might interest you. We talk about ancient aliens. We talk about the Bible. He tells me his favorite TV shows, favorite movies, favorite music, although it's kind of vague. Conspiracy theories, yeah, all that good stuff. All the good stuff that people are interested in these days. Everything that everybody's talking about, you know? So yeah, let's just get into that commercial break, and we'll come back and we'll get into the interview with Jason Comeau. Stick around.
You want to keep warm when you're feeling chilled, but you don't want to raise your heating bill. Blankets are okay, but they can slip and slide. And when you need to reach for something, your hands are trapped inside. What do? Join a cult! Cults give you warm, comfortable robes that have sleeves. The robes keep you totally warm and give you freedom to use your hands. But that's where your freedom stops. Now, you can only watch propaganda. You can only read propaganda. And you can only write propaganda. You can also eat a bowl full of infant pieces. Cult robes are made from ultra-soft, thick, luxurious hemp. And we make old women knit all of them or else. Brainwash your children and still be wrapped in warmth. Having trouble meeting women? Well, check out this little lady who's waiting for you to impregnate her with our next savior, Zashiwasho. We provide you with cocaine-laced coffee every morning so you can quickly perform manual labor and then play backgammon with our leader who will probably rape you regardless of your gender or your age. Don't try to call the police, though, because we have the technology to turn your newborn baby into a dog. Then we roast the insides of your dog child over a fire. Everyone loves it but you. You can study up on that law that doesn't apply here all you want, but you're here for life. Now you can do what we all want you to do while you stay totally warm in a cult.
All right, so welcome back to the Rosco Show. I am sitting here with Jason Comeau. He is Pastor Jay from Know The Trut, which is a satirical YouTube channel. So how the hell are you, Jay?
I'm doing hella good. How about you?
I am also doing hella good, man. Thanks for coming on to the show.
I appreciate it.
So me and you are kind of buddies. We know each other. But can you, just for the fans listening, can you tell me just a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I'm 34 years old. I was a Christian for about 22 years. A fundamentalist for about 20, and then a Catholic for those last 2 years. And then I started falling away from the faith. Long story short, I started studying the historicity of the Bible, and once the Bible didn't seem as legitimate to me anymore, I started questioning my faith, because with most religions, the foundation, at least with Christian religions, the foundation is the Bible, and when you don't have the Bible, everything else crumbles. And I started doing a lot more research on on different religions. I started studying atheism, and then I got to a point where I realized that the default position of belief, I stopped believing.
So you basically just became an atheist then?
Pretty much, yeah. Yep. For the first few months, I was an angry atheist. I went through that phase of thinking that, I was lied to all these years. So of course, now I don't look at it as I was lied to, because, the people that taught me what they knew, I knew that they genuinely believed in what they believed in. So it wasn't like all these people knew better and they were teaching me lies. So I kind of got over that angry phase pretty quick, and I just kind of evened out and just kind of became one of those atheists that I still had a voice. I still would post, atheist related stuff on my Facebook. I would still talk about it, but I just kind of fell by the wayside as far as activism goes.
So would you say that you, when you started out, you were more of like an anti-theist than an atheist?
I would say that. I felt like, at the time, making such a huge transition, I looked at religion as being harmful. And I think to a degree I still do, but maybe not as extreme as I thought. But at the time I thought all religion was bad, everyone was out to hurt you, that kind of thing. I would use these arguments that, like, look at all the Christians that have killed all these people back in the past, stuff like that. But of course, everyone, if you look at history, religion does play a part in it in some aspects, but I think people are just jerks too.
Yeah, exactly. So, atheist Christians. So, would it be mostly just Christianity that you were against, or I know you said all religion? So would you lump like Islam and Buddhism into the same category for that, or is there kind of different opinions when it comes to different religions? No,
I would look at all religions from the perspective of I don't accept their claims, and it's not necessarily that I hate any that they're trying to teach, so whether it's Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, you go down the list, any religion that has a deity involved or has anything supernatural involved, I tend to not accept those claims that they're making, and it comes down to the fact that they don't have evidence. I guess that suits me.
So would you find it kind of hypocritical then when people do read the Bible and they do kind of pick and choose and like all the supernatural stuff you were just talking about? So for example, a Christian or somebody who does live their life from the Bible, but at the same time they find maybe the story of Noah's Ark to be ridiculous, or any of those type of stories, and they're mostly just in it for like the teachings of Jesus or the self-help aspect of it, but it really doesn't have anything to do with the spiritual aspect of it.
It's hard to say. Like, I try not to look at people like that as being hypocritical. In fact, I feel like they're people that think that way are more. I think they're more realistic because You know, I guess you can refer to them as moderate Christians. You know, they'll pick up parts of the Bible and say, okay, Jesus taught something really good right here, which is fine. Like, great. That's, you know, of course, then I would say, well, there's a lot of books that also teach good things. But I tend to look at people who take parts of the Bible more serious than other parts of the Bible. I tend to look at them like, they're not the target of my Pastor J videos, so to speak. You know, if a Christian comes up to me and says, I believe in God and Jesus, okay, fine. But yeah, when they start talking about Noah and some of these other, like the talking donkeys, then I kind of lose them. That's where we become more of a fundamentalist, and then it's easier to pick, you know, someone like that apart because, you know, if they believe in a talking donkey, like what else are they going to believe in, kind of, you know?
Do you ever find that those people who, I know you said the people that start talking about maybe like the serpent in the garden or the talking donkey, most Christians that I've talked to, they kind of try to steer, even though they do say, well, some of them anyways, they say that they do believe in 100% of the Bible. As soon as you bring out, you know, Balaam and the talking donkey, they kind of go, you know, they don't want you to bring it up because they themselves kind of know it's a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot more Christians nowadays are starting to realize that, which is why they're buying into this idea of not everything in the Bible is like, they, instead of saying it's not correct, they say it's more of a story, it's more metaphorical. It's like, for example, when you know, they talk about the death of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus, and they take that to heart. But then when you talk about how in Genesis, how God tells Adam and Eve that they're going to die the day that they eat of the fruit, they'll resort to, and of course they didn't die, but then the Christians will resort to, well, that was just metaphorical. Of course, the problem is, you know, now I'm listening to people tell me what's metaphorical and what's not. What's the criteria for what's a metaphor and what isn't? You know, can I also, is it safe to assume since Adam and Eve was a metaphorical death, can't Jesus be a metaphorical death? And so it's a constant back and forth, and I don't fault the Christians for that. I fault the Bible for being so, just so scattered. That it's hard to really, you know, be one side or the other. It's hard to be a fundamentalist, and it's hard to be a moderate Christian, because if you're a fundamentalist, it's easy to pick apart the Bible. If you believe the Bible's 100% true, I can sit here all day and find parts that are going to make you look silly. If you're a moderate Christian, then I could go after you for saying, well, why are you eating shrimp on a Sunday? Or, you know, like, why are you eating shrimp? The Old Testament says can't eat shrimp. And they say, well, that's the Old Testament. We don't follow the laws of the Old Testament. Well, then I retort with, well, why do we still have the Ten Commandments on our, you know, on our public, you know, building fronts? It's just this nonstop back and forth banter, I think.
Okay. So just getting off topic with that a little bit. So the Pastor J videos, we haven't really touched on that. You do, I call it segments. I say that, you know, Pastor J and Spidey Steph, they do segments, but really it's just me taking the audio from your YouTube videos and just kind of pasting them in here. So can you just touch on that a little bit? Like, what is the Pastor J videos all about?
At the heart of it all, they are basically videos that I make to deal with a lot of the absurdities that I see in Christianity. I don't really pick on a lot of other religions, to be fair. And the reason why is just, you know, I've been asked this question before. The reason why is I don't know a lot about Islam, so it's really hard to say something silly about Islam without knowing too much about it. Plus, I don't want my head to get cut off. But they're done for my own entertainment. They're done for my own, I guess, medication, if you will. They're satirical. I basically play a pastor who's just a little weird, a little on the weird side. And if you watch enough of the videos, you can see how the Pastor J character can contradict himself. But what it is I see. It's what I see on a day-to-day basis with a lot of these fundamentalists out there. And I'll see somebody make a claim about something, and it's so absurd to me that I have to make a video about it. I have topics I cover, like, does God love women? I talk about what it is to be a homosexual, things like that. But it's just, instead of me getting angry and, you know, posting mean things or saying mean things to people that I disagree with, it's just my way of just kind of poking fun at it. And in a way, I think it also undermines a lot of the views that people have, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Okay, now, so for these Pastor J videos, have you ever had any, I know that on the videos themselves you have people write emails, but I think a lot of the times those are satirical, correct?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, have you ever actually had any real fans get pissed off or believe that you were an actual pastor?
Yeah, I've had a few people comment on my YouTube videos, mostly Christians, tell me that I'm not a real pastor because I'm cussing, or I'm not a real pastor because of this. But for the most part, and here's the issue that I have, because I'm an atheist, but there's a lot of things that I see in the atheist community and with atheists in general that make me kind of tilt my head a little bit. For example, most of the angry comments that I get on my videos are atheists that will see 30 seconds of my video, it seems, and then say, fuck this, I'm out. Like, this guy's an idiot, and which is fine. I expect that. I don't, really care. But it's funny that a lot of the hate that I get comes from atheists. They don't like my style, but because they think I'm a real pastor. And but as far as like private emails, as far as personal attacks, nothing. In fact, the fan base is actually pretty good. So for the atheists that do know what I'm doing, for the Christians that know what I'm doing, they seem to like it.
Awesome. So have you prepared yourself for that? I mean, because I know it's just kind of starting out, your YouTube channel. It's kind of growing. Mm-hmm. But have you kind of prepared yourself for when you do start getting those angry emails, if that does happen? I mean,
I have, but I think they're like, how do I explain this? The thing that I have going for me is I know that these videos are lighthearted. And I know, like, I don't take them that seriously. Like, don't get me wrong. I like the fan base. I love the fan base. I love the feedback. I have script writers that help me write some of the material, and they're gold, right? But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to be funny. I'm trying to humor myself and the few friends that I have that are part of this. And so when people do say negative comments, it never affects me, because I don't. It'd be one thing if I was like trying to teach something really serious, that would probably take me. It'd be more personal to me. But because this is just a joke, because I'm just having a good time with it, it doesn't bug me.
You just don't let it bother you.
Yeah. It's hard to get bothered when you're just joking around, I think. Even when people like, if somebody were to comment like, "Oh, you suck, you're not funny," it's like, well, I think I'm funny, so.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Have you ever heard? I've heard the advice of don't read your YouTube comments. Just kind of put it out there.
Yeah, I've actually Jason Lewis, one of my scriptwriters, told me that at the very beginning. Like, when you start making videos, don't read your comments. But I do from time to time. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just my material or the way I do it, but. Again, going back to your other question, it doesn't bother me. Like, some of these comments that I see are so absurd, like I forget what one of them was, but basically they said, your whole life is a waste or something like that. And it didn't faze me one bit. I do have another video on my other channel. I have actually the same video on two of my channels, because when I first started doing it, I uploaded a few videos to my original channel. And that video has like a couple thousand hits, and it's the one where I basically, when Megan Fox was going around the Creationist Museum, kind of making fun of all that stuff, I basically came on as a pastor supporting her, and there were a lot of negative comments. But yeah, I mean, for some people who take what they do seriously, they should definitely follow the advice of don't read YouTube comments, because there are a lot of assholes out there. But I think because I'm kind of an asshole for like what I'm doing, I got lucky, I think.
Okay, so on your channel, so it's an atheist satirical channel.
Yes.
So on the channel you do go after atheists a lot, but like we said, it's satire.
No, actually, no. I in fact, it's an atheist channel, but it's kind of done. How do I explain this? It's like I pretend to be a pastor, and I talk about a lot of Christian-themed things, but there's a lot of subtext in there, a lot of things where I point out, like, the absurdities of Christianity. And as Pastor Jay, I'm talking, and I'll say things like, when God came down to murder himself on the cross, like, that's my way of being subtle but at the same time, I'm trying to stick to the character. And so it is me as an atheist kind of mocking some of the silly ideas of Christianity. So I'll be as Pastor Jay, I'm a Christian pastor, but my character is too stupid to realize like what he is saying actually doesn't make any sense. And like, so when, like, sometimes like I'll watch like Kirk Cameron or Ken Hovind or some of these other guys that really make themselves look stupid. And I kind of emulate them. And I think a lot of when people watch my videos, a lot of them will look at me and see how I act and realize, okay, this guy's kind of like, he's obviously joking. And I feel like when they watch those other people, they think, okay, what's that one guy, Ray Comfort? They'll see him and go, well, he's acting just as stupid as Pastor Jay, even though Ray Comfort's serious. But they'll think that and go, okay, well, if Pastor Jay is not being serious, neither is this guy. So it's all satire. I mean, I'm not trying to compare myself to Stephen Colbert, but think of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, when you say, like, when God came down to murder himself on the cross,
yeah.
Technically what you're saying is the way that they think. You're just putting it in a nutshell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of good that you're doing that, because it is kind of pointing out to them. And if they do think about it for even a split second, that is what they believe. And it's kind of a good thing that you're getting that out there.
So they'll sit there, and a lot of Christians will sit there and go, well, that's not how it is, because God sent his son down. And so I resort back to, well, so what are you trying to tell me? Are you trying to tell me that since your religion is a Father, Son, Holy Spirit type of religion, now are you worshiping three gods? And then the retort is like, no, we worship one God. Well, then how can you have a father and a son? And they try to use this false analogy. Yeah, well, think of a father who is also a grandfather and who's also a son. Well, no, that's not exact. It's not it at all, right? That's what their rebuttal will be. But in reality, you have a Christian religion who's trying to be monotheistic but isn't. And the only way they can get around it is by actually saying God sent himself down to allow himself to die.
Jesus is like a demigod then.
Pretty much, right. And another way I like to point out some of the things, like I have a few videos on the silly stories in the Bible and why they matter. And the whole premise behind the video is I'm talking about stories that are quote unquote silly in the Bible. And so I'll tell the story, but then I go on to explain like why these stories actually matter in day-to-day life. Of course, there's silly things and like silly stories in the Bible, and my responses are silly as to how you can apply them to your daily life. But that's me kind of like shedding light on some of these stories that are completely absurd in the Bible. And so it's kind of like there's a lot of undertone there, yeah.
Okay, like for example, I think it was Elijah and the bears, or
yeah. Yeah, he had Elijah. A few kids made fun of his bald head, and basically God, because of Elijah praying to God sicked 2 she-bears on these 42 children, and mauled them to death, because apparently that was the only way to fix an issue. Just like the only way to forgive us of our sins that we didn't really bring upon ourselves, but I guess we did. The only way to forgive us was to kill your own son or yourself or whatever, like instead of just fixing the mistake. Another one of the silly stories in the Bible is how you have David and Bathsheba, and essentially in the story, everyone knows that story, but you basically have a king, and you have to assume that he basically raped Bathsheba, because I don't think she consented to it, and God punishes them, and then David asks for forgiveness, and God forgives him, except he goes on to not only kill their child, but lets the child suffer for 7 days before he kills it. And you can look at that as just a story, but even if it was just a story, what are we to learn from that?
Right, what's the point of that story? Or, what's the lesson from that? Exactly.
Right, yeah, and then so it's just the way my brain works. And I'm not saying that every atheist thinks the same way. I'm not saying that even I'm doing it the right way, but it's just the way that I view these things. It's the way that I view these stories. Like when I see, or if I, whenever I hear on the news or hear friends or somebody talking about, not that we have to get to this discussion, but when they talk about, abortion and, God is pro-choice, I'm like, well, is he though? I mean, read David and Bathsheba again. I don't think really, and you can view that as infanticide or whatever, but still, it's a serious problem in this book, in this moral guidebook. And so we have people running this country today that want to bring back the Bible as like the law book of this nation, and it's like, do you guys really want to do that? Can we at least take out all of the Old Testament like before we do that?
So does it bother you when Christian apologists or just Christians in general try to justify these stories or try to give like an explanation for these stories?
I can't say that it bothers me for a few reasons, or for a couple of reasons. One of them being, I don't think every Christian does that. I don't like, I mean, yeah, I'm an atheist who does satire and mocks Christianity, but I feel like there's a lot of Christians out there that are really good people that really don't want to get in these debates because they might know they just want to believe. But yeah, for the people that do try to justify these stories, I don't get mad anymore because I've heard it so many times. I kind of come to expect it. And I think for me, I feel more sorry for these people that are so attached to this book and these stories that they actually have to come up with excuses instead of saying, you know, let's revise this. I mean, the Bible has been revised so many times. Why are we not revising it again as we progress as human beings, you know? And I'm not saying take out the entire Bible and get rid of it, get all religion, whatever. People want to believe, I don't care. But I feel like a lot of these people don't want this change. They're afraid of making these changes. And I understand why. I understand why they want to keep the Old Testament in the book. You know, the Old Testament, you know, according to the story, prophesies Jesus. I could refute that too, but but we'll forget about that for now. But yeah, they don't want to get rid of the Old Testament because the Old Testament basically says, hey, Jesus is coming or somebody's coming. So they can't get rid of the Old Testament. So they're kind of in this pickle because, you know, I bet you most of them want to get rid of it. So us atheists would have nothing else to attack. But at the same time, they can't, because if they do, then they don't have a Jesus story anymore.
When Christians do admit that there are certain parts of the Bible or certain parts of the Old Testament that they're bothered by, like, of course, that makes sense that there would be certain things in the Bible that Christians would be bothered by. But with the fact that they come out and admit it, does that kind of make you feel good about, or not good about yourself, but just good in general, that they would come out and say, you know what, maybe that is wrong, but I really can't speak for God?
Well, part of me is appreciative of the fact that they will admit that. It makes me feel like I'm talking to an individual who is okay with admitting that, you know, not only that they could be wrong, but that there's some messed up things in the book. Like when you're a person that, with all the evidence thrown at you, who still wants to cross your arms and close your ears or whatever, I feel like I can't even talk to you. But if you're one of those people that says, yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it's in there, I don't know what else to say, at least then I'm talking to somebody who's somewhat rational enough to be able to have a conversation and admit when they're wrong. Basically, you know, I get sad because that even though, like, I'm happy that they will, you know, admit that there's some issues, I get sad about the fact that they can't, that they still have to latch onto a deity, even with all this horrible stuff written in the book. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, though, that's not why I became an atheist. It wasn't because of these silly stories in the Bible. That's not what made me change my mind. I changed my mind because I studied the historicity of the Bible and how the Bible came to be. And I mean, that could be a story for another time, but that's what, you know, in fact, that's why even to this day, when I have these debates with Christians, I tend to not even want to talk about the Bible, because based on what I've read and the fact that some of these stories, especially about Jesus, were written like 30 years after he died, and that there were no eyewitnesses, and the fact that Jesus didn't write a book himself, it lost all credibility for me.
Okay. Now, you were saying earlier that you really don't know enough about Islam to, like, argue it, so that's kind of why you don't touch on Islam or anything like that. And I'm not going to get into Islam, but is there any other religion that you have studied into besides Christianity, or is it mostly just Christianity and the Bible?
Well, let me just say about Islam. From what I've seen in the news, I don't agree with the fundamentalists. Just to get that out of the way, I don't agree with the bombings and the killings and the jihad. I would hope not. Yeah. But as far as other religions, I've dabbled a little bit. There's some good podcasts out there that talk about different religions. Going back to Islam, Quranify Me with Paul Sading, he talks a lot about Islam. My Book of Mormon is another good podcast where I've learned a little bit. The guy basically reads through the Book of Mormon. So I've learned a little bit about Mormonism, Seventh-day Adventists. I know a little bit about Scientology, even though that's technically.
It's a religion. It's a tax-exempt religion, so.
It is. I learned the other day why they're tax-exempt too, which blows my mind. But yeah, I don't know enough to be able to sit and actually make videos on them. And the other thing too, though, is I focus on what I do because I was in it for 20-something years, you know.
Right. Now, you said that you've debated Christians before. Have you ever got them to the point where they kind of are, scratching their chin, or you get them to the point where at least that they're thinking? I'm not gonna say that you've ever converted anybody, but have you ever had anybody say, that's a great point, I've never thought about that before?
Well, I don't know. And when I say debate, I mean I've never had any open, like, these formal,
just conversations online or just talking to Christians in general.
If it's happened, I don't know about it. And I think a lot of these conversations, some of them have turned hostile on either my end or their end. A lot of them are really good conversations. But yeah, I don't think I've ever had a situation where anybody walked away thinking that I know of. But of course, when I have these discussions too, my intent isn't to turn somebody away from their religion, because most of these conversations are started with individuals asking me why I don't believe, and so I come at it from a position of, well, this is why you sound silly to me, versus like you're wrong, if that makes any sense. So usually when I talk about things, I usually approach it from I don't understand why you say this. This is why I reject that claim. This is why I lack a belief. So I don't like to try to prove God doesn't exist with people. And so, I don't know if anybody's ever done that. I don't know if anybody. I know there's been there's at least one person I know who's questioned their faith because of my videos, because they would see the absurdity in it. But I don't know how far that's gotten.
How does that make you feel, though, that you at least got somebody questioning their faith from your videos?
It's a tough question. I don't think I ever thought about that. I mean, I'm happy that my videos made somebody think, but the way I look at it, and this is where I think I'm, or at least atheists can be different from Christians, is I'm happy that people are thinking rather than, sticking their feet in the ground and not budging. I like that people are able to think and question their beliefs. But, I'm not going to get any reward out of somebody deconverting. There's no mansion in the sky for me after I die because I've deconverted so many people. For me, it's just I like for people to think. I don't know for a fact that there's no God. I lack a belief in one. I'm always open to the idea that there could be one that exists, but I'm not going to just jump on the bandwagon and say, yes, one exists. So I like these conversations because at the end of the day, we're both going to walk away with thoughts in our head, with questions. And that's what I like. When it comes to a serious conversation, when I'm making my Pastor J videos, I'm just out to be silly and stupid. But when it comes to actual conversations with people, I want us to think. And if they realize at the end of the day that how they thought and what they believed in just didn't make sense to them, then awesome. If they still stand firm in their belief and that they're still a Bible-loving Christian, then awesome. Like, I think those are good conversations to have. I don't think anybody should be afraid to talk about these things.
Well, same question, but opposite. So have you ever had a Christian say something to you that made you scratch your chin and make you think, I've never thought of that before?
No.
Oh, really?
No, there were times as I was questioning my faith towards the beginning, still had doubts, but my issue at the time was I still was allowing myself to presuppose that a God existed. Like I would listen to debates between, someone like William Lane Craig and, any atheist I can think of. And for a long time, like Mr. Craig would always plant this seed of, not doubt because he's a believer, but he'd always plant something in my head to make me think, am I being silly for not believing? But I started to realize with every one of his arguments, not only were they the same exact arguments with every debate, I started to realize that, like, when they had a debate about does God exist, he would come to the table already thinking that God existed and start his argument there, and nobody ever solved the question of does God exist. Even later on, people would say that like atheists are stupid for thinking that we came from nothing, and then Christians' answer to that would be, well, God came before the Big Bang or whatever. They're still presupposing a God, and the fact is, none of us were there before nothing. Like, no, we can't test nothing. We don't know what happened before that. We have a bunch of hypotheses, but at the end of the day, a lot of what I hear from Christians is presupposition. I've heard Pascal's wager used against me, but the problem with that is, what's God? We all know what Pascal's wager is, and I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I have to explain it, but
No.
Okay.
The first guest I actually I asked him, or I did the Pascal's wager thing with him, and he almost seemed confused as to why I would ask him that, considering everything he just told me. But I honestly think, for a Christian or an atheist, a lot of atheists thinks that's kind of a silly argument. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think from a Christian point of view, it's a valid argument, and I don't know if you agree or disagree with that.
I would only disagree because that's from a Christian point of view. Because you can ask a Muslim the same thing. You can ask any other religion the same thing. But the fact of the matter is if I'm going to follow Pascal's wager, now I have to decide which God out of the thousands of gods that exist in people's minds, which one do I have to believe in? What if I end up believing the wrong God? The other issue that I have, and what makes it not valid to me, is if God is real and he knows everything, he's going to know whether I truly believe in him or not. So if I have this mentality of, well, I'm just going to believe just in case, in my brain, I still don't think he exists. And I'm just mouthing these words of, well, I'm just going to believe just in case. But if I really genuinely lack a belief in a God, I can't force myself to think that one exists. Otherwise, I would be a theist. And so if God is real and he knows that, when people say, well, what's the harm? Just believe in him just in case. Well, I just can't do that. I can't. And especially with me, with the way that I think, I can't just accept things without proof.
Right, so what's the point of pretending to be a Christian if you're not a Christian, if you just don't
right.
believe it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
I am an atheist. Thank you. Yeah, everything is meaningless. Woo, to nothing. But it's true, I'm an atheist. I've been an atheist most of my life. And people talk about there being a war on religion in America. And nothing could be further from the truth. There's no war on religion. America is the most, outside of the Islamic world, America is the most religious country on earth, right? And there's no war on religion because atheists like myself have zero political power in this country. Zero. You cannot be elected to any public office in America as an atheist. It's impossible. They did a poll where they asked people, who can you see yourself voting for? Man, woman, black, white, Jew, gay, straight, three-legged cat, down to atheists. And zero. Nobody would vote for an atheist, right? Do you know how many atheists are in Congress right now? Zero. There was one until the last election. Jeff Stark was a congressman in San Francisco, right? And he was elected to Congress in 1973. Came out as an atheist in 2007. Yeah, so take that, gays. Our closet is way deeper and darker than yours. Our closet goes all the way through to fucking Narnia. You go out the wrong end of that closet, there's a bunch of Catholics with a talking lion that will eat you. So there's no fucking war on religion in America, all right? Relax. And I know there are probably people here tonight who have faith and are faithful, and that's creepy. It is. It's as if to the faithless, it truly is just creepy. It creeps us out. It makes us feel weird when you talk about your faith, because I can liken it to this. It's like Santa Claus, We all go, when children believe in Santa Claus, they go, oh, that's wonderful. Let the children believe in Santa Claus. Don't ruin Christmas for the children. Let them believe in Santa. But if you run into someone 21 years old who still believes in Santa, you will not leave him alone with your children. you'll organize a neighborhood watch because it's creepy. And that's what faith looks like to the faithless. And religion to me has always just seemed like a form of socially acceptable psychosis. And I'll explain, because it's just like if you were the only person on earth who believed a tenet of any major religion, if you were the only person on earth who believed it, you would just seem crazy. It's not about the ideas themselves, it's about how many people believe the idea that gives it credibility and gives it respectability. And as an example, I'll pick something that's pretty accepted and respected in our culture right now, which is Catholicism and communion, right? Now, communion, the miracle of communion, if you're not aware of what it literally is, it is something called transubstantiation, which is the Catholic doctrine that the host, the Eucharist, the cracker, is literally, not poetically, not figuratively, not symbolically, but is literally the body of Christ. It just looks like a cracker. That's the miracle part. Jesus disguised himself as a cracker. And the wine is literally the blood of Jesus. All right? Now, millions of people believe this around the world, so we treat it with respect, right? But if you were the only person on earth who believed this, and someone came across you with your glass of wine and your plate of crackers and said, "What you up to?" And you said, "I'm just having me some Jesus meat. Delicious Jesus meat. Wash it down with the blood of the Lamb. You can't have any. I'm the only Catholic." You would lock him the fuck up. That is crazy bullshit. So I think, like, if you're a Scientologist or a Mormon and you see Catholics giggling, remember that bullshit. Not that Mormons aren't super bullshitty. They are. They're super crazy bullshitty. Mormons. Oh, my God. And you know Mormons, they don't believe in the same Jesus. You know that, right? They believe in sort of an alt Jesus who I believe is soy-based. And one of the things that came to light was that Mormons were doing something called baptism by proxy. And if you don't know what this is the practice of baptizing dead people into the Mormon faith. What they do is they have volunteers who come in, and each volunteer can represent 20 dead souls. And they jump into the baptismal tub, and they walk across and jump out, and someone else jumps in and out and in and out. It's a volume business. They keep it going all day. And it came to light that they were baptizing Jews killed in the Holocaust. They had baptized 100,000 Jews into the Mormon faith through this process. They baptized Anne Frank 9 times. Bitch just would not take. And the Jewish community heard about this, and they were outraged. You know, there was Elie Wiesel, the great writer, and the Simon Wiesenthal Institute heard about this. They started protesting and saying, the Mormon Church must stop this. This must stop. This is a horrible atrocity. How dare you baptize our ancestors into the Mormon faith against their will? How dare you? This must stop. Which I think goes to show the Jews are fucking crazy too, because it's not real. They can't fucking do it. They don't have the power. This isn't Hogwarts. You can't jump in a tub and suddenly Nana's in heaven with Brigham Young wearing magic underwear. They can't do it. Relax, Jews. You've got bigger things to worry about.
Welcome back to the Rosco Show. Hope everybody's enjoying our interview that we're having with Jason Comeau. Something I want to bring up is the 2-year-old that fell into the cheetah exhibit at the Cleveland Zoo. The parents going to be charged, or they're thinking about charging them. I'm not 100% sure, but apparently they were allowing him to dangle over the side. A 2-year-old child, they were allowing him to dangle over the side. He fell 12 feet down into the cheetah exhibit and injured his leg. He's lucky he didn't break his leg or fracture his skull, or, you know, worse things could have happened. I mean, he fell into a cheetah exhibit, right? Well, as soon as he fell into the exhibit, the parents jumped right in to retrieve their child. The cheetahs made no attempt to interact with the child or the parents, and luckily for them, I mean, it could have turned out really, really bad. So here's my thinking. I guess at the time, the mother was holding 2 other children. The father was present, but who allows their 2-year-old child to dangle over a cheetah exhibit? I mean, Michael Jackson almost dropped his baby over a balcony, which was bad enough. But allowing your 2-year-old to dangle over a cheetah exhibit, he falls into the cheetah exhibit, I think that I would pretty much have a heart attack. Like, holy cow. So what are your thoughts? What are your opinions? Hit me up, Rosco at theroscoshow.com. Let me know what you think. Maybe we'll get you on the air. We'll see what's going on. Not cool stuff. So if you hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/theroscoshow, we'll be posting a link to that, as well as I may put it up on the website at theroscoshow.com. But yeah, it's pretty terrible. I mean, I read an article online about it, and I also saw some footage on CNN about it as well, but it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, who would do that? Right, Iris? Jeez. So anyways, let's get into Spidey Steph segment. Take it away, Spidey.
Hey guys, so this is my latest update due to popular demand. So it's been about 2 weeks since I've been on this new diet. It's weird to say diet because usually a stereotype comes along with that, but essentially that's what it is. So I've cut out gluten, wheat, corn, processed foods, you know, MSG, stuff like that, red meats, all kinds of things upon suggestion of my nutritionist. Just to see how my body deals with that. And what happens first is you go through this kind of stage where your body's going, what the hell is happening? Because it's all of a sudden being fed different stuff. And so, yeah, my body has definitely been reacting to that. But I'm also proud of myself because I've made meals, and that's something that, like, I never did before. And I just feel like I am eating healthy, even though my body right now, it feels tired and sluggish, and yesterday I kind of felt like I was getting the flu, but it wasn't that at all. It's your body's way of telling you something different is going on, and that only lasts, you know, for like a week at the most, and so yeah, that's kind of been happening to me the last couple days. And what I like to repeat to myself is that I'm creating a whole new healthy body every single day. And that's an affirmation. I don't know if you know what positive affirmations are, but if you don't, you should look it up. It's life-changing for sure. And so yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of the process of the whole diet change thing, getting used to that. It's weird sitting down and having a different meal than everyone else, and I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, and there's a lot of temptations around. It's kind of like being a drug addict, tempted to go back and do that drug that you've been consuming your whole life. But it's worth it to feel better, and your mind totally reacts with what you eat. And so I've had hard days for sure, but I'm trying to stay positive as I possibly can. Getting outside as much as I can, that helps a lot. And yeah, so I hope that within the next 2 weeks I will feel a lot better, and then I can take the next step, and I'll let you guys know what that is. If you have any questions about like how to eat healthier, how certain foods can react with your body, just, you know, message me, let me know, because I've learned a lot of information in the past month or so. I've pages and pages of information, and so yeah, it's very helpful. One thing that I really realized is that sugar is like crazy in a lot of foods, and if you read the ingredients, you'll find that there's like way too much sugar, and sugar causes all kinds of things, even cancer. Like, it's just crazy, the things that can go wrong because you're consuming too much sugar. Your body needs a certain amount of sugar, but we definitely in this world today get way too much sugar. And so yeah, that's just one thing. I think that's it for now. Everyone, keep your heads up. If I can do this, you can definitely do this. It's a hard thing, it's a challenge, but it's something you can rise up to, for sure. And yeah, so take care, guys. Peace, love, and everything like that, and I'll see you in my next vlog. Getting the flu or some other kind of horrible bug that you're terrified of and you can't get antibiotics because you've used them too much and your immune system is about to shatter? Garlic. Got a barf? Feeling nauseous? Ginger. Dizzy as hell? Water. Feeling sad? Cashews. Diarrhea? Banana. Upset tummy? Gas? That kind of shit? Mint tea. And watch some Ellen. But above all, dance.
This is Pastor Jay. If you'd like to become a member of my flock, or if you're just curious about leaving the atheist faith, you can find me at insert links here. Or you can find my links in the show notes to this podcast.
Welcome back to the Rosco Show. That was Spidey Steph's segment, and it seems like she's doing a lot better, so that's good to hear. We're going to get into some of Roscoe's Bible readings. Like I said, the last one that we did was the lineage from Adam to Noah. It was very boring. I apologize about that. But now we're getting into the fun stuff. We're getting into the flood. So in a nutshell, God was saddened at what humanity was doing on earth, so he decided to send a flood to wipe everybody out. Noah found favor in the Lord's eyes, and so he decided that he would use Noah to build an ark to save every animal on earth. It would be 2 of every animal, male and female, and 7 of every clean animal, which you'd have to check out Leviticus to see which animals are clean and unclean. I'm not going to go through those right now. But yeah, it's a fun story. I mean, God coming down, drowning everybody. The one thing about this story is a lot of people say, well, the fish survived, but all that salt water mixing with all that fresh water, the fish would not have survived either. So basically, he killed every single species on Earth, minus whatever was on the ark, and minus, I guess, some fish survived. I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't really say in the Bible. And if you've ever seen the movie Noah, and I know we do touch on that on the next segment, me and Jason, it's very interesting. I mean, it's a very short story, and they turned it into a 2.5-hour motion picture. And of course, you have to add some elements to the story. I mean, they couldn't just take the story of what's written in the Bible about the flood and Noah's Ark and put it into the movie without adding story. I mean, it would have been pretty boring, I'm not gonna lie. You'll notice that I mentioned the Nephilim. It doesn't really touch on what the Nephilim are. Some people say that they're giants. Some people say that they're fallen angels. Some people say that they're both. In the movie Noah, they're rock monsters, which is awesome. Have you ever seen The Never-Ending Story? You know the rock monster in there? It could be a Nephilim. You never know. So anyways, this is the flood. Roscoe's Bible reading, The Rosco Show. When there were more people on the earth, the children of God began to marry any woman they chose. They would have children by them. They were the heroes of old. The Nephilim were still on the earth at this time, as well as afterward. God said, "My spirit will not contend with man forever. He may only live 120 years." He saw how wicked man had become and how much evil existed within his heart and mind. God felt saddened that he created man on the earth, and his heart was filled with pain. God said, "I will wipe every man and animal from the face of the earth, for I am sad that I created them." However, God favored Noah. This is the account of Noah. Noah was more honest than many men in this time. He could also speak with God. Now the earth was corrupt and filled with violence, and God saw everything that was going on. God said to Noah, "I am going to wipe the earth of all people, for they bring violence upon it. I am surely going to destroy the earth in the process. Make an ark from cypress wood. Make lots of rooms in it. The ark is to be 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Make a roof for it and finish within 18 inches of the top. Put a door on the side of the ark as well. I am going to flood the earth, destroying all life that I have created. Everything will perish. I will establish my covenant with you, Noah. Take into the ark 2 of every living creature, male and female. Bring every kind of food you can and store it away for you and them. Noah did everything God asked. So welcome back to the Rosco Show. That was the first part of the flood story with Noah. The second and third part are coming on next week's episode, and those are the fun ones. This is just the beginning where God tells Noah to make the ark. Basically he gives him the instructions on what he is to do to prepare for the flood. We're about to get into the second half of the interview that we have with Jason Comeau. We do speak on his favorite TV shows, favorite movies, favorite music. I like asking the guests that because it's kind of getting into their head a little bit more. I feel like I know a little bit more about a person when it comes to the type of entertainment that they enjoy, but maybe not all the time. I mean, the nicest person ever, their favorite movie could be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that doesn't have anything to do with their personality, but it's just really interesting to me. So, yep, fun. Right, Iris?
Yep.
Wow, she actually spoke directly into the microphone. I can't believe it. So anyways, like I said, we're going to get into a commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to get into the second half of the interview with Jason Comeau, and then we're going to wrap this up. So stay tuned, The Rosco Show.
I believe in an America where the separation of church and state is absolute, where no religious body seeks to impose its will, directly or indirectly, upon the general populace.
Let's restore respect for America's secular roots. Help the Freedom From Religion Foundation defend the wall of separation between state and church. Join us at ffrf.org. Freedom depends on freethinkers.
Okay, so just getting a little personal here, man. I asked Blake this too, and I think it's something I want to do with all the guests. What kind of TV shows are you into, man?
Oh my goodness. Lately, I don't know if you qualify this as TV shows, but I've been watching every top 10 video that I can on YouTube. Top 10 scariest games, top 10 whatever. And I've actually been getting into a lot of the YouTube creepypastas, like when they talk about the scary stuff. But as far as TV shows, I know like The Office is my all-time favorite TV show.
Awesome, dude. That used to be my favorite comedy, and it's still really good, but it's over now. But
that's my comfort TV show. We've also been watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I like a lot of just bizarre comedy. When it comes to like TV series, of course, Game of Thrones and Walking Dead. Sons of Anarchy is a huge one. But I have this time of watching anything 90% of the way through and then just stopping for no reason. I just end up like same thing with video games. I'll play the best video game on the planet, get 95% of the way done. Rachel's laughing behind me. Get 95% of the way done with the game and go, you know what? I'm bored. Now she's making me play Silent Hill, and she just was behind me. She's like, "You're not doing that with Silent Hill."
Is it because you almost don't want it to end?
I'm a very, like, when it comes to my hobbies, I'm a very busy person. Like I'm a musician. I record, write music, and so I might be in the middle of playing a game and get 90% of the way through, and then realize, oh, I want to work on an album right now. Then that takes the next month of my time or something, and the next thing you know, I get lost. Or for example with the TV shows, I'll watch 90% of the way through and realize, oh, I've watched all 5 seasons of this show, but the last season's not playing till next season, and then I have a whole summer to forget about it.
Right. Okay, so what about have you ever heard of the Bible series?
I've heard of it, yes. I haven't watched it. No, not yet.
Okay. So I was just gonna ask your opinion on that, but you haven't seen it.
I'm not sure, like, if there's any bias to that show. And the other thing that makes me hesitant, I don't want to be unfair, but the thing that makes me hesitant is I feel like I wonder if it's going to be a bias show, like a pro-Christian show, a non-biased at all, or an atheist show?
From what I've seen the whole series, from what I've seen, man, whether you're a Christian or an atheist, it is just pure entertainment, man. Like the story of Lot, where the two angels come and save Lot from Sodom.
Yeah, and somehow the whole entire town is gay. They want to have sex with the angels.
Either way, in the Bible series, the angels are like ninjas, man. And everybody's like trying to stop them from getting out of the town, and the angels are running through with swords, and they're like, they're fucking everybody up, and it's awesome, man. So just for the entertainment purposes. Okay, so what about movies? What kind of movies are you into?
Oh man, that's a tough question. First of all, I can't remember any movie that I watched to save my life, right? And what I mean by that is I could watch, like we just watched Interstellar the other day. Great movie. I just don't remember most of what I watched, and I think it's because I don't analyze the movies as I watch them. As far as movies go, I don't know, man. I don't know. I like all types of movies, and they could be the cheesiest movies. They could be the most like well-made movies. It doesn't matter to me.
Are you like me where if it's a movie, like for example, if I know that somebody sat down and like wrote a script for a film, and then they got a bunch of actors together, and then they put this together, I really don't care, because these ideas are coming out of somebody else's head, and it's kind of entertaining, but that's all it is. It's just entertainment. I don't feel like I'm really gaining anything from watching it. Does that make sense?
And that's how it is for me. There have been movies that have been put out that did impact me in some way. I can't think of any right now, but I do know that I'm that kind of person that if I know an actor or an actress is going to be in the movie, I might like it a little bit more. Like, I'll be honest, every Brad Pitt movie that I've ever seen, I'm into it, and I think he's a really good actor. I just watched a movie the other day with Michael Keaton and Edward Norton, a couple other people, called Birdman.
Yes.
Amazing movie, and to know how they made that movie, that was really good. I like watching a lot of indie films too. I feel like there's a lot less restriction on indie films, so if you watch them, you get more art, I guess, if you will.
It's more about the story and less about the CGI and the explosions and whatnot, right?
So... Oh, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I like a good movie with good CGI, but at some point, it becomes really fake. It's the same way like a music lover will be more into like a 70s, rock album versus like a modern day techno. Now, I know there are people that love techno more than 70s rock, but I'm just saying, if you're a purist, you tend to, with movies especially, the more raw they are, the more they can hit your soul, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, no, I got you. Tug on your heartstrings.
Yeah, like Birdman was a great example of that. It was a very raw movie. There were a few special effects in there, but it wasn't about that. It was about the story in the movie, and it really sucked me in. I thought it was such a good job. They did such a good job of that movie.
Right, awesome. So, what about like biblical movies like Noah? It was pretty popular. Exodus just came out. So, have you seen any of these, or do you have any interest at all in watching these films?
I don't have an interest. I know Noah isn't really biblical, and I like how a lot of Christians got mad because they didn't get a fictional story right, but that's like any movie that you've ever seen where they didn't get the fictional story right. Like, look at any Stephen King movie, and it's not towards, But, yeah, I don't have any interest, but it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm an atheist. It's just, I tend to view movies, and I'm going to exclude Noah because I know Noah, I think Noah was written or directed by an atheist, but a lot of these movies that are religious tend to be a lot on the cheesier side. Like, I don't know if you saw the new Left Behind movie with Nick Cage.
Yes. And you know what, man? That was like... Okay, no words to describe it. It was awesome. Yeah. No, I'm just joking. No, it was terrible. It's probably the worst movie I've ever seen. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. And what's funny about it, and again, I mean, coming from me, this says a lot, but I'll be honest, I've read the Left Behind series, Jenkins and Tim LaHaye.
Really?
I think that's the name. Yeah, I read all 12 or 13 books. I read them as a Christian, but even today, even as an atheist, I'll say that if you read those books as fictional books, even though the story is fiction, because Like if you look at, and let me just go on a little sidetrack here. If you look at a lot of Catholics, they don't look at the Book of Revelations as a rapture type book. In fact, a lot of Christians don't believe that like the end times are gonna, like Jesus is gonna come back and all this stuff. And I know I painted a broad brush right there. Those books, as fictional books, they're actually not bad. Like, even though I don't believe in God, I don't believe Jesus is coming back or any of that stuff, I still think they were well written. And but for the movies, the way they made the movies, they were definitely you could tell they were written by believers, because there was a lot of a lot of cross signs, a lot of the fish signs, a lot of Bible talk, and I love how these movies portray atheists and portray unbelievers. I mean, you look at God is not dead and all this. It's like we're like the worst kinds of people on the planet, and like they think a Bible verse is going to change their mind. And so when I see these movies come out and they're biblically, what's that word? It seems like when they have an agenda, it seems to lose a lot with me. I don't think they're going to be honest movies, and I just don't really care.
Yeah, it's less about the story and more about the message that they're trying to get across, and that always sucks.
Yeah, it always does. It always does. Yeah.
Okay, so just steering off course here a little bit. Music. Since we talked about TV shows and movies, we might as well get into music really quickly. So, what kind of music are you into? Like Creed.
No. I was just about to sing with arms wide open. I'm into a lot of the ambient, out there music. Okay, I grew up on like Metallica, Nirvana, and then through my later teens, I was a lot into like the industrial, like Nine Inch Nails and Frontline Assembly, Manson, and then at some point, like when I'm in my mid-20s, I got into a lot of the Southern California hardcore metal scene. So I got into bands like Parkway Drive, As I Lay Dying, things like bands like that. And I started to gravitate more towards like the metal, screamcore type of music. And then in my late 20s, when I got about 30, I started getting into a lot of out there bands like Porcupine Tree and Riverside. And
I thought I was the only person in the world that's ever heard of Porcupine Tree.
You'd be surprised, because when you find a fan that's in a Porcupine Tree, that fan, I guarantee you, has every album that Steven Wilson ever came out with, whether it's with just Porcupine Tree, Steven Wilson's side project, Opeth. He had a big influence to my out there sound. Then lately, I've been getting into a lot of the gent metal, the DJ ENT, and it's just, if you listen to Meshuggah, like that's kind of they're like the fathers of that. And then there's bands like Periphery and Animals as Leaders that does a lot of that gent style. And so with the music that I write a lot of like heavy music, but there's a lot of pretty sounds in there, a lot of out there pretty sounds. I sing, but the last album I came out with was all instrumental. But of course the one before that was singing. But I like for what I do, I like to combine like a lot of the heavy stuff with just the singing voice, because I don't scream. But it really, as far as the music that I'm into, I love down-tuned guitars, and there's pretty much a 99% guarantee that if you play me a song that's written in B, and I can drop B tuning or lower, or play with a 7 or 8 string guitar, I'm probably gonna like it. And it sounds very easy to play. Like you listen to these bands and they're playing all open notes, but then when you realize the complexity that goes into these rhythmic patterns that they play, you're like, what the hell is going on here? And so, any song that has a good breakdown to it, I like that stuff too. But it's got to be moody though, no matter what.
Cool. So spiritual people that aren't necessarily in any sort of religion, and I'm talking about like chakras, crystals, like Kundalini meditations. What's your opinion on those people? Do you think that's just as bad as religion, or do you think that's in a whole different subset?
Well, the one thing those people aren't doing is they're not, going out in the public and telling the homosexual community that they're bad people, right? So they get a point for that. But as far as like the things that they believe, like I love astrology. I don't love astrology, but I love how astrologists they stick to what they believe. But I always wondered, like, do they really care about us? Like, these people look at patterns in the sky and they look at the planets and how they're aligned, and somehow these planets are supposed to affect our daily lives, when the way I view it is that these are just other objects in the sky and space that really don't care about us, that live on this really tiny blue dot in all of the universe. So as far as astrology, that's kind of, I look at all other spiritual ideas the same way, like crystal skulls, crystals, tarot cards, psychics, and I'm still surprised that nobody has talked to James Randi yet and collected their $1 million prize, because...
Do you say you're surprised at that?
No, I was being sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because all these people, they seem to make the same claims to their ideas being real and true, and yet you have these people that go out in public, like James Randi, who debunk these people, debunk psychics, debunk people that are into homeopathy, and he has like a $1 million prize for anybody that can come in and prove that what they're doing is real. And nobody has and they do these tests under conditions that they agree to, and they can't follow through with it, and they blame James Randi for, like skewing the test or whatever. But I don't buy into any of that any more than I buy into religion. I really don't. And there's plenty. If you like, for anybody that's listening, I mean, I know I'm being kind of very vague here, but watch anything by James Randi. Look him up on YouTube and just watch his talks, watch his TED Talks. People that are homeopathists, I forget how to say that.
Homeopathists, yeah.
Yeah, they love their homeopathy, but yet James Randi one day did a talk, and he's talking to a group of people at a TED Talk, I think, and he opens up a bottle of pills. He doesn't tell anybody what they are, but it's a brand new bottle. It's in the box. Opens up the box, opens up the pills, downs the entire bottle of pills, gives his talk. 30 minutes later, tells everybody, yeah, these are a bottle of sleeping pills. And then he starts talking about, and they're homeopathic sleeping pills, and they didn't do shit.
Oh, wow.
And it's just, this guy, he's like 400 years old, but he's funny. He's funny to listen to.
He looked the same in the 1960s as he does now,
yeah.
I noticed.
Yeah. But what's great about him, though, is he's not out to get anybody, but he really, he just, the way he talks and the way he explains things, it makes you realize, like, these people have no more credibility than people that believe in, like, a magic man in the sky. So I don't buy into that stuff any more than I buy into any religion.
Okay, so right along with like the spiritual, like maybe not psychics or things like that, but just spiritists in general, I noticed that like aliens or extraterrestrials oftentimes go hand in hand with spiritual people. I don't know if you've noticed that, and I don't mean spiritual as in a religious sense.
Yeah.
Do you find that could possibly be because they're just trying to find something to believe in, and the alien thing makes more sense than religion, so they kind of go along with that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I have no idea why people latch onto that. I do know, though, that like, if I were to pick something, it would be probably easier to believe in aliens than it would be to believe in a god. But we still have just as much evidence for aliens than we do for God. Of course, I've always gone by this mantra of, in a world of magic and make pretend, anything is possible. So by saying that, like, I've always asked the question of, like, how do aliens get from their planet that's billions and billions of miles away to here? And, anything could be made up, a wormhole, or their spaceships fly at the speed of light without hitting any objects in space. They get here, and anytime you start to, like, question, it turns into this global conspiracy. And somehow North Korea is in line with North America for hiding this secret, which is absurd if you think about it. Meaning, like, this global conspiracy, you would think that, like, they make it sound like every country is in on this secret of aliens exist, but we don't want to tell anybody. And what I'm trying to point out is that most countries don't agree with each other anyway. So why would Russia or North Korea and the United States be in cahoots with hiding this? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. Or what about the point that, the Roswell incident? Neil deGrasse Tyson says, they can travel like millions of light years to get here, and then they can't even land their craft. So it's like, what kind of technology are they using? They're stupid aliens, and we don't even want to talk to them if they can't even
Well, here's the problem with that. Like, Roswell has already been explained, right?
Tell that to the History Channel then, because there's still documentaries about.
Yeah, I know. But when here, let me try to find you something real quick, because this is something when it comes to just conspiracy theories, in general. When you talk to somebody, whether it's about 9/11 or about global conspiracies, about chemtrails, whatever you want it to be about, no matter how many times like you explain away what the real thing is, with the fact that it might not even be a thing at all. Listen to this, and I don't know where I got this from, and so I'm not going to take credit for it, but basically it says, evidence for the conspiracy theory is evidence for the conspiracy theory. Evidence against the conspiracy was planted, and so it's evidence for the conspiracy theory. A lack of evidence indicates that the evidence was removed, and so it's evidence for the conspiracy theory. If one speaks out against the conspiracy theory, they're in on it, and so it's evidence for the conspiracy theory.
So we're in on the conspiracy theory, then. Wow.
Pretty much. And what ends up happening is, like, whenever it comes to most skeptics trying to find information, information has to be falsifiable. If you can't falsify it, then like what I just said there, like if somebody has a conspiracy theory that can't be falsified, then it doesn't add up. So when somebody makes this claim that aliens exist, and you try to, like Roswell, for example, and you explain, it was balloons. Well, now I'm getting paid by the government to say that, and so it's like it.
It's kind of similar to the God of the Gaps argument, right? In a sense, where it's like because you don't disagree with it, then you're just in on it, or yeah.
Which I don't think is a very honest way of looking at something. I mean, and the other problem too is at least here in the States, you have a lot of, and by the way, I'm not gonna come out and say that I agree with everything our government does, but I also don't think that our government has this like this mentality that they're trying to get rid of the entire world, and there's this elite group of people. I mean, there might be some people up there that are jerks, but I just don't buy into this global conspiracy, like one new world order kind of thing. And
so you're not a big Alex Jones fan, then, I take it.
Believe it or not, I used to be. And I actually stopped meeting. I was a conspiracy theorist at one time. I bought into. I listened to Michael Savage, Alex Jones. In fact, I had everything on. I had like almost all of Alex Jones' videos. But nowadays, my issue with conspiracy theories and theorists, it's all about how you talk. To be honest with you, and I know I'm kind of just like beating around the bush with a lot of these answers, but like with Alex Jones, for example, he's been around for a long time, and he's said a lot of things. A few things that he's talked about have been true. Doesn't mean that everything he says is true, but his biggest problem is how he goes about telling his story. When you're on air and then you resort to screaming at your microphone and pretty much telling everybody, if you don't buy into our way of thinking, then you're part of the problem, I just shut down and I just don't want to hear it. And so I feel like if there's any conspiracy theorists listening, if you feel like you're right, make sure when you talk to people, you come at it from a nice, calm, relaxed angle. Because when you start spouting off all this bullshit and this garbage, like I was on Facebook and somebody said that they're pissed off because America not only created Ebola but patented it. And when I challenged them on that, instead of getting information from them, instead of getting sources and materials so I could research myself, their response was, well, if you don't believe us, you're part of the problem.
Well, that's the big thing too, is if they're asked to quote their sources, it's almost like you're saying, well, I don't believe you, but I'm not just going to take you at your word. Like, just give me a website or a link or something, send me to something, you know what I mean? There's no point in getting angry when I'm asking you to quote your sources.
Yeah, and to answer your original question about all this stuff, like, I like to think I have an open mind, and there's going to be a few things that I'm just going to instantly probably dismiss. And I know that might be unfair of me to do that, but if you're going to come at me and say aliens exist and here's why, I want you to give me as much information as possible as to why you think. And don't give me Roswell stuff, because to me that's not evidence. I don't believe that Roswell had anything to do with aliens. I don't believe that at all. But if you're going to talk about how you think ancient aliens existed and they built the pyramids, I don't believe that. But I'll read your stuff. I'll read your material, but expect a response back from me.
Right. But ancient aliens, actually, that's kind of a good topic, and I don't really want to touch on it too much. But so all these cave drawings of the astronauts in Like, for example, the Mayan temple, I think they had a light bulb or something like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You think that those are all just misinterpretations of the pictures then, basically?
I think with everything that modern humans have seen, it's easy to mistake anything for anything. Pareidolia, it's easy to see something like that and think it's a light bulb, and who knows what it is. You know, I'm more okay with the answer of we don't know what the fuck that means versus there's a light bulb. Now, I'm not saying that humans back then were stupid. They could have been. I mean, hell, they found what they think are ancient batteries. They dug up some
in
vats.
Egypt, yes.
Yeah, and hey, that's pretty cool. And so I don't know if those are light bulbs or not, because my issue with that is to jump from I saw a picture, therefore light bulbs. That seems absurd to me because we don't have any more information to go off of except for that picture.
Or like a human figure with something on his shoulders and a circle around his head, and then they say, "Oh, spacesuit." But really, it's not hard for them to, it's not hard for them to draw a circle around somebody's head, and then we can just interpret it any way we want. It could have been a halo. It could have been the sun behind them. You know.
But here's the thing: they could have interpreted that exactly as it is. I mean, how do we know that they didn't dream of flying one day? Like, you know, today in today's society, we make comic books that deal with like the weirdest, bizarre, most bizarre shit. We have comic books where we have guys shooting lasers out of their eyeballs. I'm not saying that's ever going to happen, but if we can invent stuff, if we can make pretend, why couldn't the people thousands of years ago also do the same thing? That's why they see all these paintings like with Jesus and Mary, and they see a UFO painted in behind her. Well, one, I don't know if that's a UFO. I don't know what the artist intended, but somebody could have added that in later. Somebody could have maybe thought, they could have seen an object in the sky and thought, oh, there's a flying thing out there. Right? Our imagination just hasn't gotten better today. I mean, I'm sure back then people had just as big of an imagination. I mean, look, that's how do you think God came about? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Like, even, for example, like on the old school Star Trek, where they used to hit the thing on their chest and then start talking to whoever.
Yeah.
All that is Bluetooth technology that we have now. But back then, it was just a dream to them, right? So.
Yeah. And so, and like I said, I mean, I know initially, when it comes to conspiracy theorists and a lot of alien claims and all this stuff, my first reaction is, oh my God, here we go again. But I feel like a lot of these people that want to talk about what they talk about, they might have some good points, but I think where they fall short is they also come up with an answer, or they just get crazy when they talk, and that's where they lose a lot of people. When we analyze these things, we don't, at least I try not to presuppose anything. I try not to assume anything. I take the information that I get, and I try to come up with a conclusion, and if I can't come up with anything, I resort to the answer of I don't know,
which is an awesome answer. Yes.
Yeah, and that applies to everything, and so that's basically how I feel about that stuff.
Something that I kind of wanted to start to do on my shows. Every day I get more ideas, right, for my shows. So you're an atheist, so I'm just gonna kind of go through and just name people from the atheist and the Christian community, and just really quickly just give me your opinion on them, if that's okay.
Okay. I'll see.
I'm not gonna trap you. I'm not gonna trap you.
No, that's fine. And I'll be honest. If I don't know, I'll say I don't know because I've been kind of out of the loop for the last few months. But go ahead. We'll see what we can do.
All right. Peter Popoff.
He's been caught lying before, and now I think it's the same guy. I think he's trying to sell water, holy water. I think he's just trying to make money off of people, and I don't agree with that.
Okay, Seth Andrews.
I love Seth Andrews. I think he's a good human being. I know he's an atheist too, but he does a good show. He does a good job, and he's got a good voice.
Saitam Bruggencate.
He's intellectually dishonest, and when he has debates, especially with the debate with Matt Dillahunty, he wasn't very fair to Matt. And when Matt pulled some of the same stunts on Saitam Bruggencate got mad. I know that's kind of a minor thing to nitpick about, but I think in any debate you want to be as honest as possible, and I don't think he's very honest.
David Michael.
I met him at David Smalley's house. He's awesome. He's a really good guy, and Yeah, I like him. Great podcaster.
Russell Glasser.
Actually, Russell, you know, when I first started listening to the Atheist Experience, I was annoyed by his tactics about like the way that he acted, but I actually understand him more now. I remember one time somebody tried debating the Bible with him, and he just pretty much said, "I don't debate the Bible." Maybe not in those exact words, but that's how I took it. And at the time, I thought, man, what an asshole! Like, but now, as a more quote unquote seasoned atheist, I understand what he means by that. You know, when you get to a point where something isn't valid anymore, yeah, why debate something you think is a work of fiction anyway? So yeah, I think he's a good guy.
Ken Ham.
Oh boy. I don't even know where to start with this guy. I mean, like with most creationists, I think he really believes in what he believes in. But I think he's also, just like with Joshua Fernstein and trying to raise $20,000 for a freaking camera. I think Ken Ham is just, you know, I don't like that he's spending millions of dollars trying to build this Noah's Ark thing. But yeah.
Richard Dawkins.
I like Richard Dawkins. He's the best God that atheists have. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, jeez.
No,
you're gonna piss some people off. Yeah.
No, I say that in jest because, you know, I love how people. In fact, I was asked that one time by G-Man on some kind of Google Hangouts. He asked what, you know, about my God, Richard Dawkins. Like, you've got to be kidding me. I think Richard Dawkins is amazing for what he does with his books on evolution. And I think he's misunderstood. I think a lot of people, or he says a lot of things on Twitter and stuff, and he's always having to, like, you know, come back and restate what he said because people misunderstand the guy. But, yeah, I like him.
Aaron Ra.
Actually, I think I'm supposed to be meeting him in a week or two to go drinking with him. Rachel said she's going to take me to go meet him. I like him too. In fact, I've been watching a lot of his videos on evolution. I like his matter-of-fact way about him. I think he just doesn't take any shit. I respect that.
Rachel Nanan Brown.
Well, she's my girlfriend, and she's right behind me, so I have to say that.
That's why I said I wasn't going to trap you, but.
Say that I like her, but I'll send you a PM of what I really think of her.
All right, sounds good.
No, she's amazing. She's definitely amazing.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, so we're pretty much at an hour now.
Okay.
So, man, I really want to thank you, and just so people know, you do all the music on my show. Well, not all the music, but you do about half the music on my show. So,
nice.
The little in-between segments, that's you.
Yes.
Yeah. At the song we play at the end. What's the name of that song that we play at the end there?
It's called, and I want to preface this by saying that when I wrote this album, I intended not to have lyrics. So what I did was I made the song titles very, very long, so you could at least understand what the song was about. That song is called "Drift Away from Safe Harbor, Catch the Wind in Your Sails, Explore, Dream, Discover."
Awesome.
So.
All right. Well, I want to thank you very much, Jason, for coming on my show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Any final words or any shout-outs that you want to give before we go?
Yeah. I mean, if you guys, if anybody is looking for my Know the Truth satire channel, if you want to post that in the show notes, I also have 2 websites that I post my music on. I have my official Bandcamp, which is A Lost State of Mind. .bandcamp.com, and A Lost State of Mind is all one word. And my SoundCloud page, it has other music that's not on my official albums. You could probably post it in the show notes if you want to. If not, just go to SoundCloud and search A Lost State of Mind. Other than that, there's if you guys are on Facebook, look up No God, or There's No God in These Heavens. That's my friend Robert and Denise. They do the Facebook page there, but other than that, that's forever all the people that I know, but I won't. I won't, like, yeah. If people want to know, they can message me and I'll let them know.
All right, cool. Also, if you go to theroscoshow.com, I got your YouTube video up there too, so that there's a link to your YouTube channel on there as well.
Nice, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Jason. Well, thanks very much for talking to me, man, and you have yourself a great night.
Hey, you too, buddy.
looking at the alien abduction phenomena as it's reported today just seems logically implausible. Alien beings able to beam you out of your house, coming back to abduct you day after day after day, experimentation that was crude by 1950 standards on our planet, a seam of lack of understanding of genetics, the use of hypnosis, hypnotic regression to gather testimony. All of these things argue against the reality of alien abduction. If there was going to be abduction, I think it would be more like Barney and Betty Hill, more like Travis Walton, a single event. I don't believe that either one, Barney and Betty Hill or Travis Walton, were really abducted. But I think that would be more closely what I would expect if that kind of phenomenon was going on. The question is, if they've abducted you, why are they bringing people back? And they say, well, why are they trying to suppress or hide this information from us? And yet it's so simple to break through the mental barriers they erect that somebody who studied hypnosis for most of an afternoon is able to do it. And we can look at our terrestrial environment. I think we can find a multiplicity of explanations for abduction that make more sense than aliens doing it, meaning sleep paralysis, for example. And I don't mean to suggest that all abductions are explained by sleep paralysis, but many of the events of abduction mirror sleep paralysis. David Jacobs, in his book Secret Life, talks about the typical abduction. What he has just described is classic sleep paralysis. And so you have someone who's experienced sleep paralysis, they don't know what it is, they find themselves in the hands of an abduction researcher who uses hypnotic regression, and they say to him, that's all I remember, and the researcher says, no, there's more there, keep digging, and eventually they come up with a full-blown abduction story. And I think John Mack semi-explains part of the abduction phenomenon when he says there's a matching between the experiencers and the researchers, which means Bud Hopkins gets cold calculating scientific aliens, David Jacobs gets the invaders, John Mack gets the Eastern philosophers. And to me, this suggests that even if the researcher is not aware of it, he is subtly implanting his own ideas on the experiencer. And I think this tends to explain part of the abduction phenomenon. So with alien abductions, I think we're dealing with something that is more terrestrially based.
Well, that's it, guys. That's going to do it for my show this week. I want to thank Jason Comeau for coming on and talking to me. That was awesome of him, and it was kind of short notice, too. I kind of just sent him a message and said, hey, man, are you up for an interview? And he said, sure, let's do it. So that was awesome of him. I want to thank Spidey Steph for her segment, and I want to thank Iris for everything that she contributed to these episodes. Thanks, Iris. So I say this every week, but I really want to talk to a Pleiadian. If you are a Pleiadian, hit me up, Rosco at theroscoshow.com. You can also hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/theroscoshow. And like I said, there will be no discrimination. There will be some tough questions, only because I'm trying to understand where it is that you're coming from. Well, I know where you'd be coming from. You'd be coming from the Pleiades. But I want to understand your beliefs. Just for any guest on the show, come on here. I know I do say this every week, and I apologize for that, but come on the show. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to ask you the hard questions. The questions that not just I want to know, but the questions that I think everybody wants to know. Every time I do this, I get a little bit more educated. I learn something from doing this. So we don't have that many listeners right now, but that's okay because this is a lot of fun for me. And like I say, it is a huge learning experience for me, and it's awesome. And I really hope it's a learning experience for you. I hope you can tune into the show and listen to the interviews and maybe the Bible readings that I do and learn something. Learn something about whether it be Christianity, conspiracy theories, aliens, whatever it is that you're interested in or not interested in. Tune in and maybe you'll learn something, like I said. So that's going to do it for this week, guys. Remember to keep an open mind. Peace.
Oh man, no, I'm like I was gonna say, I'm a nobody. Honestly, it's not a big deal.
Well, you had like over 1 million people listen to you on that podcast, right? So
Yes, yeah.
So that's something. I ain't never had 1 million people listen to my voice before, so that's